Biz Dev Live. Weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live. Weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C. Brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C. Brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T.
Going back to the idea that living within your means, because I know one of the things, and right now, me and my wife, we rent a nice house. We haven't made that move to buying. And one of the reasons that's sort of kept us from buying is making sure that we have all our ducks in a row, that we have money saved. We don't want to get into a situation where we're going to be paying out and can't do over and above what we might be paying out in mortgage and whatever unexpected costs that might come up with the house, whether that be the roof or some other crazy piece of, because once you buy the house, now you own it, and if you want to live there, you got to keep it up, and you can't depend on an owner or someone else to come in and rescue you.
Or loans or credit cards, and those are the keeping out of debt, and that's the recession proof. So if you have to buy a house to go to Home Depot and spend 10 grand, that's not the way to do it. Okay. So what do? You keep saving, right? You keep saving and you work on change. You maybe not buying is the way, like you're doing, save. And then when that time comes, and if it is a recession, you have cash, right, to go and buy a home. And
I think that's like the big key and secret. And I talk about this in people building their businesses, right? You got to have, let's say you have kind of any kind of regular structure of business. I want this to be applicable to the most amount of people, but you have your labor costs, you have your cost of goods, right? So whatever you sell, you have expenses that go along with that. And then you build in above the cost of running the business and the labor costs, right? So whatever products, you have a deli, you have whatever. For me, I have staff. So you have your labor costs, you have your operating expenses, and then you want to build in profit margin. You want to have a separate amount for taxes and all that kind of stuff. You want to build in all these buckets. And then even above your labor and above your office expenses and your taxes, insurance, all that stuff, you want to have your profit, and then you want to have capital savings, right? So it's, people aren't charging usually enough for their services or their products so that they can not only clear a profit, but also put money back into the business so that they can actually scale it. And what that looks like in a household, right, is making sure that not only are you clearing enough to cover your expenses and put a little bit of money into like the savings fund for like the 6-month emergency fund,
which in different places, that 6-month emergency fund's different, right? New York's going to be different than South Carolina. Just the taxes are different. So that fund is just, you don't need as much money.
And so many people don't do that. And then what I'm saying, which is going to blow, people who aren't even doing that. All right, now you got your emergency fund, and then you got your other savings account, which is your cap. So if you got your business capital savings, right? That's just money that you're putting that you can leverage towards a house, towards a car, if it's for the business, for a building, for a van, for all the different things that would go into the business. And that's how the real money game works, right? So you're having these buckets of money, and everybody's like, well, I'm not making enough money. But how do you make enough money? By thinking about these things and making sure that you're filling each bucket, right?
And by doing nothing is probably the worst thing to do. Because even at the end of the day, right, you could pay off a little bit of debt along the way. That's just less debt that you have, right? So not everybody has the ability to save. How do you get to save now then? That's the question. That's the question you should be asking. So there's one thing you didn't add in that, and that's marketing. You didn't mention marketing costs, right? So why does the big player win, right? Like the Rocket Mortgages and now the Loan Depots. Like, Why do those guys become such a big player in the spot? Because they have more money. They don't even employ the most knowledgeable people. Okay, so that's a whole nother topic, right? But let's get back to recession and economy proof, right? So if you're going
and I'll just chime in on to put an exclamation point on it, right? If you're not building in time and money towards marketing, right? We were talking about the follow-up, the materials that you would send out on those post calls. That's going to be the major differentiator. Are you getting the Google My Business reviews? Are you getting the Zillow reviews? Are you putting time? And inevitably, time equates with some kind of money piece to it, whether you're hiring other folks or just spending your own time, which means you're not spending time on something else, right? Which means money's involved one way or another. But that time and money on that marketing aspect, if you're not putting work on building the word of mouth, getting the marketing materials, whether you're doing it yourself or paying somebody to do it, what does your future business look like? Are you always in that mode of always just...
So like, okay, we do mortgages, right? But what are you good at? Like, are you good at repairing people's credit? Are you good at analyzing their savings and figuring out like what the next game plan is after you get them into the home? Are you good at prepping them? Hey, you don't need an engineer just yet. Look, there's a bunch of pipes here that are leaking. Over there, the cement's cracking. Like most obvious things. But instead of selling them, look at them, right? But the problem is, again, the time. We run out of time. We don't have enough time. I need to make enough. Again, I'm 41 going on 42. I've hit rock bottom. I came from nothing, so it's not like I'm entitled. I lived through this COVID scenario. My kids are remote right now, even after trying to figure out, maybe homeschooling them would have been a better option in the future. So there was a lot that's gone on, and I can tell you that 100 days that I spent with my family at the dining room table working, was the closest I've gotten and the most meals that I've eaten at home. And it just made me realize that's where I got to be all the time, and when they grow up, maybe I'll grow up, but for now, I feel like that's the motion. Spend the money as you get older, you'll have it. And we spent it when we were younger, right? We had everything that we wanted, and now I'm going to put my time in. I'm going to plant my seeds for my kids. I'm going to educate other people on how to not overspend. Don't do what I did. Don't have a $3 million bankruptcy. It's no good. It's no good on the body. All right, and doing it the right way, like the slow and steady wins the race, is the right way to do it.